I didn't think it was going to happen. To be honest with you, I was really not prepared to make this video, but here we are. I've just gotten in from traveling for broadcasts this weekend to a couple of places, back in, still have the shirt and tie on from the trip, but had the opportunity to listen tonight to the selection show as I was driving back from the broadcast and make sure that I could hear some of what had gone on. And this is what I have to say about what the selection committee did. They got it right. I know. I wasn't prepared for it either, but they got it right. They put the right teams in there, 20 teams that are in there, 13 automatic bids, and those automatic bids were from teams. They did what they were supposed to do. They did what they were asked to do. Their records may not reflect the pristine dominance of some other teams, but the auto bids went to the teams that were supposed to receive them. And the at-large bids went to the teams that were supposed to receive them as well. And if you look at what the committee was supposed to do, from their primary things to look for, their secondary things to look for, the very first thing on the first line under primary is the overall record, the overall winning percentage. And there are a lot of one-loss teams. I was prepared to see Southwestern on the outside looking in. I didn't think they would do it. I was prepared to see Ottawa on the outside looking in. I didn't think they would do it. Now, there are other teams that have legitimate statements as to why they should be in there, why they feel like they should be in there. And I understand it. But I still think the NAIA got it right this time. So a shout out to the NAIA, a shout out to the selection committee, and props to them. I realize there are, and folks, I understand that there are teams that you wanted to get in there that didn't get in there. And I realize this is a live stream right now, so I'm still going to make it short. But I felt like for the most part they got it right. And, you know, that's one of those things. They went by what the rules were. I didn't feel like it happened that way last year, but this year it did. So shout out to the NAIA. Props to them for getting it right. Other teams that felt like they have an overall legitimate case, I would go with Campbellsville first. Legitimate case right there. You look at Concordia from Nebraska. You look at Southern Oregon. You look at Marion. You look at Southeastern along the way. But for the most part, they got it right. And by the way, in the chat right now, except the broadcast was awful. You know what? I didn't get to watch any of it live. I on the road, I was picking up things on YouTube a little bit later, but that was the general idea that I got to, is that was awful. My frustration with the broadcast was, and I know this is going to be petty, but I was already prepared to just, I was about to say, no, I'm not going to make fun of them. No, I was going to openly mock some of the selections out front, and I'm not going to do that right now. However, subject-verb agreement, when you are talking about seeds and teams, go back and check the grammar on that. You may want to make some adjustments the next time that you write a script for a selection show. I realize, again, that's small, that's petty, that's fine. But the only thing I would say is this. I feel like the field of 20 teams is appropriate. I feel like that it works well. There's some good matches in the first round. Really interested and excited to see there were some seeds given. That's my point that I want to make. And I'll wrap up this short live stream with this. Seeds, they're just numbers at this point. They really are. I mean, you can say there's seeds there in the first round. After that, they're going to reshuffle the deck from the first round to the second round. I mean, the seeds, again, it reminds me of, whose line is it anyway? Right. And you go back, and Drew Carey would always open the show on whose line is it anyway? This is the show where everything is made up and the points don't matter. That's right. The points don't matter. Just like if Rachel Zegler were to throw her own personal watch party to get people to come to see the live remake of Snow White, it's not going to matter. That's going to tank, by the way. So the seeds really don't matter. They don't. They're just numbers at this point in time. If they get reshuffled every single week. Now, I get it. I understand. It's a travel issue. It's an expense. I understand that I'm not in charge of that and trying to dole out all that money. There's a lot that goes into it. I get it. But they're still not truly seeds from one week to the next if you reshuffle them. And I'm still waiting to see, because if you notice, Texas Wesleyan moved from 7 to 8 after having won a ball game, moved from 7 to 8 from the NAIA ranking, not rating, to the seed that was given. I'm still waiting to see if Texas Wesleyan gets that home game. That's the final thing I would push for. That, and that Ernest Caesar needs to get a nod for Player of the Year. I mean, somewhere he needs to get looked at, not only in the Sooner Athletic Conference, but to get some national recognition as well, because, man, what a season he's had. Stephen, hey, good to see your name come up there really quickly. OU's AZ got in, but Wesleyan did. Exactly. Texas Wesleyan, but Stephen, I'm going to go ahead and reserve all that I have for this year. You're exactly right. Texas Wesleyan should have gotten in at least one, if not both of the prior years. But for this year and for tonight's live stream, they got it right. Can't speak to the past. We could go back and I could pick a few things apart, and that whole have to be in the top 20 thing and still win your conference and blah, blah, blah. When there are other coaches that are doing the rankings and might keep certain schools out. I'm not saying that ever happened for sure. It was a possibility. But this year, I will end with this. And it's nice to see you, Stephen, Elisa, Roger. Thanks for being in the chat tonight. The NAIA this time got it right. And hopefully between now and next week, they'll keep on getting it right. The 2024 Football Championship Series. We'll be back tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll be back all week long. We got a lot more to talk about with NAIA football. But for tonight, thanks for watching. And the NAIA got it right this time.